What's going on, everybody? It's Chris Waggener at Waggener Law. I am an attorney who practices personal injury law, which is basically car accidents and slip and falls, that kind of thing, out of the St. Petersburg, Tampa Bay, Florida area. Now, before I was an attorney that handled car accident cases, I did criminal law at the public defender's office for a few years, and I just did a lot of watching body cameras and watching dash cam cameras, and I've always really liked cops, so I thought I'd start a little series where I just review cops videos. So without more, let's get right into it.
U.S. immigration at the Canadian border for 2 years, and then King County Sheriff's Office. Been with them almost 3 years now.
All right, so let's see why he pulls him over. He's following him. He's looking.
Failure to complete stop.
Failure to come into a complete stop. Let's run that back.
A couple of failure to complete stop with them almost
There.
3 years. U.S. immigration.
Let's watch it again. So watch right here. Okay, so with the way that cops edits these videos, we could be missing something here. I don't really know, but let's watch, because if she does run a stop sign, I don't know why I'm assuming it's a she, but if this person runs a stop sign, then he's got a reasonable suspicion. Frankly, he's got probable cause that a traffic violation has been committed. At least in the state of Florida, that's going to give him enough to pull the person over and issue them a citation if he so chooses. Now, when cops pull people over, they're limited in their investigation to the reasons that they pulled the person over. So, he's not going to be able to do more unless there's other factors, circumstances that present themselves as he's doing the investigation. Like if he sees weed on the the chair next to the person driving in the passenger seat, then that's going to expand the nature of the investigation to be a drug investigation. So let's see if they actually run the stop sign.
Canadian border for 2 years, and then King County Sheriff's Office. Been with them almost 3 years now.
So she just went through an intersection there, and there's a stop sign here.
Complete stop.
So he's already said it. Like this person's not even to the stop yet. Like you can see the line there, right? You can see that they're not even up to the line yet. So it must have been the intersection before that. And if it wasn't the intersection before that, this is a bad stop. And every single thing that this cop is going to find out during this investigation is going to get thrown out in court, because any defense attorney worth their salt is going to say, listen, you had no reason to pull my client over. This is fruit of the poisonous tree. And as such, any illegal activity that you discovered as a result of this, improper stop or this bad stop isn't going to be admissible in court, and the court's going to agree and throw it all out.
Got a couple of traffic infractions on them, so
lights are up.
Stop them. Expired tabs too. Yeah, an improper tab display.
Improper tag display.
Reaching for something here.
All right, so there's two of them in the car, and she's pulling over into a gas station. Now, I like what she's doing here. I like the fact that she's pulling over into the gas station. I think that's a great move. Why is that a great move? Because it helps put the officer at ease. Safety is like the number one priority for officers when they're out in the streets, because it's dangerous out there. They can get shot, they can get stabbed, they can get pepper sprayed, they can get run over, the dog could attack them. There's a ton of different ways in which they can get hurt. And so one of the most dangerous places for a police officer to be is outside of their vehicle, next to a car on a busy street. And so I've never run into a police officer that gets upset with you if they go to pull you over. If you motion to them that you see that they're behind you and you just want to drive a little ways to go pull into, a commercial establishment, a gas station, a store, something like that, to get off the street so that the police officer doesn't have to feel like they're going to be or they're going to get hit by an oncoming car or something like that. It also demonstrates to the police officer that you're thinking of safety. You're also thinking of their safety as well, which is going to help put them into a better position to maybe give you a warning if you get pulled over for like speeding or something like that. So you want to try to give yourself every advantage that you can, and this is a good one. Now, another thing that he said is that there's improper tag display. That's going to be a jurisdiction to jurisdiction, city by city, county by county, state by state kind of a thing, as to whether or not a tag is properly placed. I know in the state of Florida, there are rules on the books in the ways that you can display your license plate tag. Like I know if I recall correctly, one of the ones is you can't have the tag obstructed too much. But there's other things as well. How many lights that there are in order to illuminate the tag at night and things like that. So let's see what happens.
I know this woman. Somebody dealt with her. Got
All
5 grams
right, so this cop
of
knows
coke
her.
off of her. Stay in the car.
Never get out unless they tell you to.
How you doing? Hey, how you been? It's been a long time to see you there. What's have you? Let's see your guys' ID, please.
I don't have ID on this side.
What's your name?
Leslie.
What is it?
Leslie.
Okay, guys, I need you to put your hands in front of you. Don't be reaching anywhere. Okay, don't be digging underneath the seat or in your purses or like that. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Stay in the car.
All right, so now I know that he has history with her because he said so, and he greeted her as if he knows who she is. I don't know if that's because he's done domestic violence disputes and she's been involved. I don't know if she's a frequent flyer, or more likely, probably a drug user. And the cops get pretty familiar with the different, local drug users just because they get arrested a lot. They're always finding themselves in trouble because they're trying to find a way to get more drugs. So police usually get to know the reoffenders after a while. So that could be her, which is also why he may be telling them to, leave your hands where I can see them. I know that most police officers don't do that when they're just doing a routine traffic stop for running a stop sign, which is why he theoretically pulled her over. So we'll see. It all could be for the camera too. There's always that element in cops too, where the guy knows he's being videoed. He knows he's being videoed for cops. So, there's always that kind of like extra little, they always kind of throw a little extra into it when they're doing these stops when the cops guys are around.
Fourteen key traffic. Southwest 116th on 110. Okay. The driver's got a revoked driver's license. Probably from the last time I wrote her for driving on a suspended license. So I'm not finding any record of the passenger. So she's given me a fake name. So I'm going to pull her out, arrest her for the driving, and then have a talk with the passenger.
All right, so he can do this. If she doesn't have a license and in the jurisdiction they're in, which, if I'm not mistaken, is pretty much all jurisdictions in the United States, then if you're driving with a suspended license, that's a crime. If you're committing a crime, they can arrest you for it. So he's going to arrest her for driving with a suspended license, and then he's going to further investigate the passenger because he's assuming that because the name isn't coming back when he puts it into the system, that she's therefore giving him a fake name. So this guy seems like he is trying to be a super officer right now. These are pretty low level offenses. But he's, outside of the potentially illegal stop, everything he's doing right now, he can do.
Don?
Yes.
Set that down. Come on out. Go set all that down there.
I have already there.
We'll talk. Turn around. Put your hands behind your back. Okay. Donna, are there any narcotics in the car?
Not that I know of.
What's your friend's name?
It's Desiree.
Desiree. Okay.
You had no idea.
No.
They may be wondering if she's got a warrant out for her.
Okay,
Sometimes
come on
when
back
people
here.
give you false
Oh, she
names, when
steals
the police
it?
get false
Yeah.
names because
What'd she
the
have?
person has a
My
warrant out for their
purse.
arrest.
Oh, well, no. We'll talk to her. She'd steal your purse from you?
My money.
All right. Why don't you stand over here? Let me. Just take a seat there. I'll be right
So
back.
she's officially under arrest now.
Where's my purse?
I'll get your purse for you.
And now they're going to go try to identify this other woman and see if there's anything wrong with her.
What's your name?
Listen, sir, I have ID and everything, sir. You
You're
can
not.
call Denny- You can call the homicide detective Denny. He will verify who I am. All the officers in South Park will verify who I am. I have no reason to lie to you.
Okay. You don't have any warrants.
No, I have nothing. I got out of jail August
Asking her for
18th,
warrants.
What were you in jail for?
for probation violation.
So they have gotten two different names from her because she initially gave them one name. I didn't hear what it was, but the name she just gave to him the second time was at least Leslie. And if I'm not mistaken, the other woman said Desiree.
Yeah, I'll give you two guesses what this is going to be.
So if I'm the police officer, that's suspect.
It's what they package the individual bags with.
All right, we've got drugs. Why am I not surprised? All right, so let's talk about getting into the bag that he just pulled out. Let me see if I can. This bag right here, okay? So there is an entire other line of case laws, an entire other line of laws that deal with going into bags like this. Backpacks, baggies, purses, duffel bags, you name it. If it clips, zips, or straps shut, there's a whole other line of reasoning as to why and when and how police officers can go into those bags. So now let's talk about what the police officers are allowed to look at in the context of this investigation. Right now, these women have been pulled over because the cop is claiming that she ran a stop sign. Now, already I've said that I think that's an issue because I didn't see them run a stop sign. Now, cops is going to edit things down. Maybe we didn't see it, but she seemed like she stopped for the second stop sign at least. And if that's the case, then all this great evidence that he's getting right now, the driving with a suspended license and these drugs and all that stuff is going to go poof out the window. You're not going to be able to use it. All these women are going to be given their stuff back and their car back, and they're going to be let out of jail, and they're going to go on with their lives with no charges. But let's just assume for the moment that she did run the stop sign. He did have a good reason to stop her. He can arrest her and put her in the back of the car. He can attempt to identify this other lady as well. Now, coming to the bag here, there's been no evidence. There's been no facts. There's been no things that have happened since this cop has pulled them over that would lead anyone to believe that any of these women were doing drugs. Now, earlier I said that when the cops are familiar with the people that they're pulling over, a lot of times that means that they're drug users because drug users get in trouble. If he knows that she's a drug user, he knows that she probably has drugs on her. And again, he's got the cops film crew following him. He wants to do something exciting for him because he wants to be on TV, right? So what not a better way to get on TV than to find drugs in a car? So she ran a stop sign. This drug dealer that I know, or this drug user that I know has drugs. Pull her over. Oh my gosh! Look at in the bag. There's drugs. Do I know that's what's happening here? No, I don't. But I'm suspicious that that's what's happening here. So, anyway, going back to the bag, it looked like briefly when he picked it up. Let me see if I can run it back and we'll take a look at it. When he picks the bag up out of the car here, it may have already been open. Let's see.
Yeah, I'll give you two guesses.
So it's clearly it's tucked up underneath there. And the reason if it's open or closed matters because if it's open, then he could potentially see the drugs without having to maneuver the bag around in any way. So again, Fourth Amendment search and seizure law, you're free as American citizens. We're all allowed to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures. And so there's a lot of logic and reason that go into like when a cop can search what, right? That's why I'm saying from the beginning of the traffic stop for him to come into contact with them and then to pull them out of the car. Now he's looking in the car. So if you can see drugs as a police officer, if you can look in the car and see, oh my gosh, that's a pound of weed sitting on the passenger seat there. What we call that exception to having to get a warrant to search, the plain view exception, that it's in plain view, that pound of weed, it's in plain view. Since it's in plain view, he's allowed to then search the vehicle for drugs because now we've got obviously a pound of weed. That means that there might be more weed in the vehicle. You can look for more. You can look for more weed. But then you get into, like I said, backpacks, baggies, duffel bags, etc., purses, those sorts of things. So can he open the bag and take a look in it? And the answer is without an extra amount of evidence, without some more facts that would indicate that there might be drugs in the bag, they can't go in the bag. So if it was open and he could see the drugs, then great. But if not, he's not supposed to look in the bag. Now, I say all that in that there's actually one other exception that would allow him to look in it now, and that is if they're going to tow the vehicle because the driver got arrested, if they're not going to release the vehicle to this other lady or have somebody come pick up the car, which they do, they'll call parents, friends, whatever to come take the car so they don't have to tow it because it costs a lot of money to get your car towed and impounded. But if they do tow it and they do impound it, they can do a search incident to arrest, and they can look in the vehicle in order to document whatever is in there. And if they find illegal substances in the vehicle, they can charge them with more illegal drugs. So it may not matter whether he looks in the backpack or not, because if they're just going to tow the vehicle anyway, they'd be allowed to look into it anyway.
What this is gonna be?
No, he unzipped it. I heard it. You can tell he unzipped it.
It's what they package the individual bags with. To cook up with. And we got a scale with, looks like, white powdery substance on it.
Well, they might be selling. Scales do indicate that
And
they're
here
selling,
we got
not
the
just using.
drugstore.
Yep. These are dealers. So that stop better be good, otherwise they're going to lose these dealers.
Oh my!
See it back to the rock?
This is freebase. It's a good amount of coke there. It's a real good amount. We got the individual bags. Looks
Might be
like
enough to sell it.
some
Yeah,
meth.
they're selling.
Or,
It's evidence. I would say that's good evidence that they're
What's
selling
that?
it. Now,
meth.
if the traffic stop's bad, none of this gets used.
Well, I got a couple kits of this.
Caviar.
Caviar.
What'd you find, George?
Good score.
Oh, big deal, man.
It's
Whose bag is that?
heroin.
The old Altoids tin. Good hiding spot.
That's hers.
You don't know about it?
A little baggy, I don't know.
Well, how about the one with the little heroin in it and the crack cocaine and the meth? That bag, the one you were stuffing when my partner pulled you.
All right. At this point, she needs to shut up. She needs to stop talking. They found the drugs. Obviously, these women know that they have lots of drugs in the car. They're not idiots. So they need to be quiet. She needs to shut her mouth, and she needs to ask for an attorney at this point, because all she's going to do is get herself into more trouble.
Over?
I don't know.
Come on, Don. We've been over this before, okay?
I just,
Okay.
I had just
Don.
got the car from a friend.
That was your car last time. That's been
Yes,
4 or
it
5
has-
months ago.
Yes, it has been my car, but I let somebody borrow it today.
Oh, okay. And they just left you with a whole bunch of dope?
I just asked to go to the store.
You're in a car with all this dope. If I wanted to, I could take you in and charge you. It's called
I
constructive
understand.
possession. I don't want to do that. All right. You seem, I don't know if you're telling me the truth.
Well,
Well, I'm not even going to ask you about that.
So this is a real defense. Constructive possession is a real issue for police officers, right? So if they both say, "Oh, it's not mine," then they've got to go to trial and have a jury determine whether or not the drugs is either this lady's or the lady who's sitting in the car, right? So you've got the whole presumptive, the owner of the vehicle is going to be responsible for the contents of whatever's in the vehicle. So like in this situation, it would be all the coke, heroin, and other drugs that they have. However, the baggie was in the passenger seat. It was at her feet when she was sitting there, and that's arm's reach away, right? So it would stand to reason that this woman would be the one that's in possession of the drugs. That the drugs are actually hers, not the driver of the vehicle. Because if the driver of the vehicle had drugs like that and she's selling to this person, why would she put the drugs at this person's feet? She could potentially get robbed by her. Put it somewhere else. But these are all just arguments that you can make in front of a jury. So what these cops now want to do is they want to get one of these women to admit that it's theirs. Because if they both point the finger at one another, it's going to create a real issue for them.
At this point, it's
I've
not
never
an issue.
shot heroin.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of other stuff here.
She's
So,
I
lying.
just smoke crack.
all right.
I think she's
Okay.
lying.
So, if I do take a statement from you, all it is going to say is I was in the car with Don. Don stuffed a thing underneath the seat, and that's it. Okay. That is absolutely it. I mean, there's nothing, you didn't know what was in the
Because I
bag.
don't know
Right,
what-
exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly. So I'm not going to say, have you say anything incriminating. That's it. Okay?
All right, that's a lie. Unless he means incriminating to her. This is incriminating Don. That's the whole point. What he's doing right now is he's trying to create the case for the state, because they know what I just told you, that when they both say it's theirs, then that means that there's a great defense to say, we don't know whose it is, jury. if you don't know whose it is, you can't convict my client of, possession and sale of felonious amounts of coke and heroin and, and intent to distribute. Like that's my client's looking at like 10 years in jail for this, 10 years in prison. You can't convict her when the other woman had it at her feet or vice versa. Like they both denied that it was theirs. So what this cop's trying to do now is he wants her to give like an actual statement, an official statement. And to me, that's pretty much meaningless because he thinks that this is going to help shore up his case against the woman who's in the back seat. So he's basically trying to get this woman to rat on her.
And you'll be down and free to go. All her information will be taken, and she'll be sent on her way. And we'll be able to contact her at a later date if that's what we deem necessary. So at this point, the driver's just going to be charged with violation of Controlled Substance Act, intent to deliver.
So my final thoughts on this one are that I think that was a really good video. It showed a lot of interesting things in it. I ultimately think that the stop was bad. And by bad, I mean that the police officer didn't have a good reason to pull them over. And if the court agrees that that was a bad reason, if the judge would agree that that was not a good reason to pull them over, all that stuff that happened afterwards, the driving with the suspended license, the drugs, the needles, all that stuff, all that gets wiped away as if it never even happened. So they'll be back out in the streets again. So it's really important for police officers to do their jobs as good as possible, not just because it avoids harassing citizens who have done nothing wrong and aren't doing anything wrong, but also because we want drug dealers off the streets. We want people that are doing drugs off the streets. We want violent criminals arrested. We don't want, there's a law, there's a case in Florida I remember reading when I was a criminal defense attorney where a murder was overturned because the police made a bad stop somewhere in like 95 in Miami in like in the 80s or whatever. And they found a dead body in the trunk of a car. And it turned into what was a routine traffic stop turned into a murder investigation. But because the traffic stop was bad, they threw out all the murder evidence. And I assume the guy got away with it because that was the only way they found out about the murder. So it's really important that the police do it the right way, not just because everyone has a right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures and we want to protect our rights, but also because we want them to do it the right way so that like the bad guys don't get away. We want them to get the right people while not getting the wrong people. That's what we all want, right? So also I think that him unzipping and going into the drug bag, I think that's probably also going to be illegal. Even if the traffic stop holds up, I don't think that they saw any reason to go into that baggie unless they're going to get some kind of other exception pursuant to like the search incident to arrest. They were going to tow the vehicle and they would have gotten into it anyway. So anyway, hope you guys liked the video. See you on the next one.